All right. Let me get the lights adjusted. Ooh. There we go. All right, let's get started. Welcome to week 5 of our freshman engineering seminar this semester. Just a few announcements. So next week, Huntington Steel is hosting their annual Steel Day event. Unfortunately, some of it takes place during our lecture, but if you have a chance to stop by, it might be worthwhile. They usually have some food there, and then they talk a little bit about the steel industry. They have a number of gadgets and things that they'll show off, and it's a pretty nifty little little tour. So it's worthwhile if you can fit it into your schedule. As I mentioned last time, the civil engineers and mechanical engineers are engaging in a little catapult build-off competition. Of course, the civils are going to win. Getting y'all fired up a little bit. Now, the actual build-off is going to take place on Saturday, October the 1st. From what I understand, they're supposed to have some food and whatnot, try and make a fun day out of it. Don't forget that Theta Tau and SAME ASC have some supplies for sale. Theta Tau is selling engineering paper, 1 pack for 6 or 2 packs for 10. And then SAME ASC has a host of 3-ring binders that they're trying to get rid of, and they're basically at a name your price kind of thing. So you can show up and rifle through what you want and name your price. And don't forget also, we're going to have another quiz this week. It's going to be made available sometime later today, and it'll close on September 30th at 11 a.m. Anybody have any questions? All right. So a couple words about our speakers. So our main speaker is Aaron Armstrong from the West Virginia State Board of Registration for Professional Engineers. We've had a number of speakers this semester who've come in and they've had this sort of PE after their name, and I'm sure some of you have been a little curious, what does that mean? Well, that means that they are licensed to practice engineering within the state that licensed them. So West Virginia has a licensing process, Ohio, and so on and so forth. And just like attorneys need to pass the bar to be able to be licensed to practice law, engineers have a licensing process as well. So Aaron's going to tell you a little bit about the licensing process in West Virginia, what it takes, what are the steps, and why you should even go about doing that. But before our main speaker comes in, we're going to have another faculty introduction come in and introduce themselves. This week we have Dr. Salam Hajjar, who's a new faculty here, just started this semester. Her specialty is electrical engineering, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her research and teaching interests here at Marshall. Everybody, so let's give a round of applause for Dr. Hajjar.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you all for having me today, and thanks for Dr. Greg. I'm Salam Hajjar. I have electrical engineering bachelor, and I have my master's and PhD in France. This is why I will say, I excuse if I pronounce some words in French. I would like to present you today a little bit the electrical engineering program that we just started this year in Marshall. I would like to tell you what do we show our students in the electrical engineering. We have our labs that we show our students some electrical elements, power generators, resistors, capacitors, those elements that I believe you have seen before in your former studies, but you will be capable to have it in hands and create your own circuits and analyze your circuits. You will be capable in the electrical engineering to test and measure your circuits by using some measurement components, the voltmeter, the ampere meter, and the ohm meter. You will be capable not also to build your components, but also to see some more details, some simple and complex concepts regarding the power generation stations and power transportation stations in order to see how the electricity comes from the generator, the big companies, finally to your apartments. You will see that in details, and you will be capable also to see, to analyze and to model your circuits, some complex circuits. If you combine some generators from different companies, you will be capable to see how this will affect the performance of your circuit. if your circuit is going to be better in performing or worse, what are the difficulties, the complexity that you will be facing. You will see this in mathematical, and also you will see this in the lab by real elements. Here I've put a small example about how we can build what you have maybe seen before, a delta-connected multi-source or a Y-connected multi-source of circuits. I have also, this is what regarding the circuits class. I also teach a class of mechanical engineering analysis. This concerns actually the matrices and vectors and how we can use those matrices that I believe you have seen very slightly before in your high school, how we can use those matrices and those mathematical forms in order to represent and to solve some electrical systems. You can use it to solve some mechanical linear systems, and also in graphical, how we can scale and change the size of some graphics. Also how we can build 3D spaces using the matrices, just by taking a matrix, multiply it by the form of the system, and we can build a 3D of it. This is what regarding the teaching part. But in the research, you are absolutely in front of a very deep ocean. You can dive as deep as you want in any direction you would like. For example, me, I work in my research on the safety of control embedded systems. I believe you have heard about the autopilot and driverless trains. We have replaced, or the scientists have replaced, a human being by a computer. And our work is to keep this robot or this computer as safe 100% because it touches the safety of a human being. So behind this luxurious tableau or this luxurious panel that you see in the cars, there's a computer that has to be 100% correct. No matter what the driver does, the autopilot has to give the right commands to the car. So our work is to keep this system safe by keeping the computer behind it, the code behind it, safe, as we study all the properties that can happen, all the accidents that can come, and solve this automatically before this installed on the chips. So what we do is actually we model the control system of the computer. We also verify that it has no errors, and just in case it had errors, we have to solve it before installing it into the car components. Another topic of research that I work on is the renewable energy, and you have seen that on Earth we are running out of energy sources, the coal, the fuel, the gas, the oil, all that. This is why we are turning towards the renewable resources, the solar and the wind, in order to introduce it to the electrical networks that we use every day. So my work is about actually the smart grids, where we have you as consumers at home and we have the producers. We would like to introduce the photovoltaic and the wind generators in our work, and we study the difficulties and the complexities and also the advantages. For example, when you have something photovoltaic, have you ever seen those cells before? Those photovoltaic cells, they work on sun to produce energy. So you can, I've charged it this morning and it gives me energy. There's no electricity inside. So this works only as long as I have sun, but at night I cannot base on it. Similarly, the wind, they establish the wind turbines in places where there's a huge amount of wind, and the whole year or the long time in the year, you have this wind that can turn the turbines. So these are the topics that we work on in the research. I think I will not take more than this long time to talk. So briefly, in the electrical engineering, the advantages of being electrical engineer is you will be capable to work in some, I will call it fancy topics. You will be capable to change into many topics as long as you are interested in. You will have like very good salary. I've heard that in 2013 the statistics were saying it's about as a starting salary, it's 60,000 to 90,000, I believe so. Greg, you confirm me? That's it. Maybe. So, and you will be capable to work on something that is always updated, and this is actually a trick. It's a gift and a curse, because you will have to always update your knowledge regarding the new technologies. And that's it. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Hajjar? All right. Thank you very much for agreeing to come and present to us today. I'm now going to turn it over to our main speaker, Aaron Armstrong from the Board of Engineers. Everybody, let's give Aaron a round of applause as well.
Thank you.
You want to get a video started, or you want me to hand some of these out?
Not the videos yet.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
They're dispersed. If you can show me, I can do it.
I have them right here, and what I'm going to do is just right-click and open where you won't see.
You'll see.
And the sound should be good to go.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great.
And then just left and right.
Thank you. All right, welcome. Thanks for having me today. I was actually a bit surprised to hear Dr. Hajjar give her speech on electrical engineering. And I say that because I've just recently taken some of these examinations I will be telling you about. And I did take the civil examination. And one of the main reasons I did that was because a few years ago they changed the format of the civil examination to take out any references to electrical engineering. And that was very good for me. What she was talking about there was some very intricate and detailed information. And so if you're interested in electrical engineering, good for you. But if you're not, go on to the civil side. As Dr. Greg said, I'm the board investigator for the state board. And sometimes people will ask, what does the state board do? Well, first I'll start out by telling you what the state board is composed of. As you see at the bottom there, it's 5 board members, and they're appointed by the governor, and their appointment terms are for 5 years. Our board meets every other month, so 6 times a year. Our next meeting will be in November, and we meet in Charleston. And we have 5 full-time staff members. I am one of those. What we do at the state board is we license engineers. We do that, and then we also regulate the profession of engineering through state law. We evaluate applications. We administer examinations, but we really do that through the help of our national organization, which is called NCEES. I'll talk to you a little bit about that next. We grant registration, and we process license renewals. We maintain current records. We've got records that go back all the way to about 1922, actually, in our office. And down here at the bottom is really what I focus on myself, are the continuing education audits and review complaints, investigate violations, and enforce the guidelines and legislative actions. Again, I reiterate that once you become an engineer, you are bound by actual state law, and in West Virginia, the state laws are different from Ohio, they're different from Maryland. So it's very important to understand where you're going to practice your profession and talk to that state board or jurisdiction and find out what is necessary. So who are these guys up here on the screen? This is the state board. I will, here on the left, I'll try to tell you a little bit about him. This is L.A. Gates. He's from the Beckley area. In the middle is Bajan Saluja. He's from the Charleston area. This is Garth Thomas. He's an actual professor at West Virginia Tech. Our board president is Ed Robinson. He has his own company. You may have heard of it, E.L. Robinson, with offices throughout the state. And our board vice president is Rick Plymel. He works as a consultant with Mead & Hunt and is also out of Charleston. This is our national organization I mentioned earlier. We call it NCEES. Some people call it NECES. What it stands for is the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying. They are our national organization, and we have 69 jurisdictions that make up this council. And you may ask why 69? There's only 50 states. Some boards, like here, in some jurisdictions, like here in West Virginia, you have an engineers board and you have a separate surveyors board. So we actually count as 2 members of this organization. NCS also encompasses Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. So that's where you get your 69 jurisdictions. And when I get into the details of the testing, just know that all of the tests that you will take on your path to licensure are developed and administered by NCEES. Before we start on the videos here, I'd like to just quickly do a little hands-on experiment. If I can get everyone just to stand up real quick. All right. Everyone who's standing, you all represent the 90,000 engineers who are going to graduate this year, about 90,000 in the United States. So you're right now one of 90,000. If I can get this half over here, just this half, to go ahead and sit down. All right? Now we've got this half over here. The half that is standing, these are the individuals of those 90,000 who have decided to take their first exam, the FE exam, the Fundamentals of Engineering. All right, next, I'd like to get, I'll try to get like the back third to go ahead and sit down. All right, now what we have standing, not only did these people decide to take the Fundamentals exam, but these are the people who passed the Fundamentals exam. So the people you just sat down, sorry, try it again next time. All right, now let's get about half of these people to sit down. Good. That's good. That's close enough. All right, now the people that are standing are the only ones who have taken the FE, passed the FE, and now have decided to go to the next step and take the professional exam, the PE. Let's get about half of those to sit down. There we go. Now what we have, out of 90,000, we have people who have graduated, taken the FE exam, passed the FE exam, taken the PE exam, and passed the PE exam. These individuals standing here are the ones that are eligible to become a professional engineer and become licensed. So you can go ahead and sit down. Where are we going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? 8 to 10 out of this whole room. And that's based on about 20 to 30 years worth of data. Now what that means, these people that were standing, let me go back. When everyone was standing, you looked around, that was your competition in the engineering field in the workforce after you graduate college. All right? 4 years after you graduate, sometimes 5, 6, it depends on what state. When everyone is becoming licensed, your competition has dwindled down to this group of 10 people right here. And I'm going to go into that here pretty quickly because what that means is that it's going to give you an advantage 4 years or so after you graduate with your degree on mobility, job promotions, and quite frankly, getting paid more. So I kind of talked about all of these issues right here, but when you talk about licensure, you got to talk about the 3 E's, and it's education, examinations, and experience. Education, you're here, you're on the right track. Examinations, you have to determine to take the Fundamentals of Engineering examination, preferably in your senior year. That would be the best time to take it. I will guarantee you that. And then after you pass that, you get out in the workforce and you get your experience. In West Virginia, graduating from Marshall, you're required 4 years of progressive experience, and to document that, to become licensed in West Virginia. All right, I'm going to show a quick video here. Maybe.
To be a professional engineer means that you are held to a higher standard than somebody who's not licensed.
I think professional means that you are, you're looking out for the public, you're looking out for the public's best interest, you're conscientious, you want to be as thorough as possible, and you want to do what's right.
One of the best ways to describe the process for getting your PE and why you need it is the same thing as a doctor and a lawyer. I mean, there's, I don't think engineers think of themselves in that same caliber a lot of times, and I don't know that we shouldn't. You know, we're building and designing the things that folks walk on and live in and drive on.
To me, a professional engineer is, when I hear that name anyway, that means that they have at least taken the technical competency and they've demonstrated that they're technically competent to somebody and that they have experience in their industry. It's very important. It means they take responsibility for their actions. They are competent in what they're doing.
I think besides the technical aspect, there's a certain level of accountability. I think with every professional licensure, there is the technical aspect, and then there's a whole side of ethics that that licensure makes you have. I mean, you would have to go out and be ethical in your dealings, ethical in your procedure of work, to be able to retain that.
So why is licensure important? You'll hear this over and over throughout your career. The main mission of an engineer is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. That is your overall mission. And what does that mean to you? I kind of touched on it before, but you can have much more money. You've got much more mobility, and what I mean by that is, if you're a professional engineer in West Virginia, you can apply for comity or reciprocity in other states and become licensed in many states. We have people that are licensed in all 50 states. And it gives you the chance for growth, promotions. Let me pull up one more video here.
As an employer looking at a resume on a table that has, you know, if he's got two candidates side by side and one's got a license and one doesn't, the employer automatically knows that the person with the PE has already met a minimum standard of education, experience, and qualifications set by his peers. It takes away one unknown for him.
If I were interviewing a candidate for a job and they had their PE license, it would tell me two things. It would tell me that they are technically solid, and it would tell me that they are willing to put forth the extra effort in whatever job they're doing, be it their license or any other job they may do for me.
Well, the biggest thing that motivated me was, to me, it's the overall, it's almost the finish line. It's the ultimate goal to me in engineering is to become a professional engineer. And it's something that I always kept in the back of my mind, kept me very driven on those levels, because it's like stopping short if I didn't get there, and it's something that also, it provides a great deal of flexibility in your career as you go on, whether it's not with the same company or somewhere different. If I didn't take it, if I didn't pursue it, I think it really did limit me as a person.
What I would tell someone that wasn't sure whether they would need their PE or not is that, like I say, you never know what you are going to do.
It's two little letters, but it just opens the door for you to do so much more.
It can only help your career. It'll open doors for you. It'll make you a lot more marketable than someone who doesn't have a PE.
I've hit on this numerous times, and I just can't beat it down enough that you got to get your education, you got to pass the FE exam, get your experience, and then go and take the FE exam. Most jurisdictions require that you graduate from an ABET accredited program. Being here where you are now, you've already got that checked off. Now, in West Virginia and some other states, we also do accept ABET accredited engineering technician program, engineering tech programs. We have two of those in the state. I believe one of them is at Fairmont State, another one at the Bluefield State. But we require someone who graduates from that type of degree to have 6 years of progressive experience as opposed to the 4 years. Again, you have to check with your states to figure out which state you want to become licensed in. This first bullet is the one is very, very, very important. You've got to take the FE exam as a senior or as soon as possible after you graduate. And I've got some charts later on to show how that is so important. And I will sit here and tell you from personal experience that that is very true. I was one of those few over here on this side when we did our little exercise that didn't take the FE exam upon graduation. Well, I found myself 18 years later saying, what am I going to do? Well, it took a long time, but I studied. I put my nose back into the books and took the exam, passed it, took the PE exam, passed it, and I would tell you I would not recommend that to anybody. The knowledge you have as a student is going to allow you to pass that fundamentals exam. I will tell you that. If you wait 2 years, you lose that knowledge. You wait 3 years, 4 years. If you wait a long time, it just makes it that much harder. They've recently moved, I say recently, it's been in 2014, I believe, moved to computer-based exams. It is no longer, for the fundamentals, it is no longer pencil and paper. You will go to a testing center. There are 2 in the state, one in Morgantown, one in Charleston, and you will sit in front of a computer and take the exam. We've got some specifics on that here coming up soon. And the good thing about that is it's offered year-round. Before, it was only offered in October and April, like the professional exam is, but now it's offered year-round because it's computer-based. The last bullet there is very important also right here, because a lot of people will go sit for the exam, the FE exam, pass the exam, and think, okay, great, I've done it, I'm good. But there's one more step. You've got to get that information to your state board. Make sure that they assign you an EI number. In West Virginia, we call them EIs, engineer interns. In Texas, they're called EITs, engineers in training. But it's the same thing. Pass the exam, contact your state board, get that number assigned to you. I believe it's even in Pennsylvania, let's say you were in that situation and you didn't get that number assigned to you. And 4 years later, you say, okay, I've got my experience, I'm ready to go through the next step. And again, this is Pennsylvania. You go and you find out, oh, I didn't get an EI number. I'll just get that and then take the exam. Well, in Pennsylvania, the law is that your years of experience do not count until you have that EI number. It's not like that in West Virginia, fortunately. But I know there are states that it is. So make sure when you pass the FE, get your EI number. What does 4 years of experience mean? It's got to be progressive, acceptable, and verifiable. I would suggest that once you do pass the FE and you start your experience, every now and again, keep a list of what you've done. I've done this, and it was my supervisor was this person. Because that's the information you're going to need to compile 4 years later when you're applying for your PE exam. Some states require your supervisors to be licensed PEs. I will tell you in West Virginia, our law does say that. However, there are instances, and every case is different, but there are instances where someone can be licensed without having a licensed PE as their supervisor. But there's some states that do not allow that. Graduate degrees, most states do award some type of experience credit for graduate degrees in engineering, and West Virginia is one of those. If you're looking to go on to graduate school after graduation, that's great. If you're worried about the experience of obtaining your license, once you roll in graduate school, call our office, call the state board, and we'll give you all the details that you'll need. I've kind of already discussed on your documenting your experience, but you do have to show how your responsibilities increase over time. It would be great to be able to show promotions. It'd be great to be able to show, okay, I was in charge of a $100,000 project, and now I'm in charge of $1 million project, or something to that effect. It's got to be progressive. So let's say you've got your 4 years experience, and what do you have to do? you just got to take another test. This is the PE, the professional exam. You'll have to apply, if you're in West Virginia, you'll have to apply to our board to sit for the exam at least 90 days prior to the exam date. This year in October, the exam date I believe is October 28th and 29th. So that 90 days has already passed. We have 85 or 80, I think we have 85 people in West Virginia that are taking the PE exam in October. The PE exam at this point is a pencil and paper exam. NCES is moving towards making the PE exam a computer-based test. Matter of fact, in 2018, the first computer-based PE exam will be released, and that will be for the chemical, I believe, and nuclear engineering programs. It is expected that the civil program will be one of the last to get converted to the PE CBT because of the enormous amount of references that are required to take and pass that exam. So if you're taking the civil or the mechanical or electrical, chances are you will still probably take that in paper format. It depends how long you wait to take. Once you take the exam and pass the exam, again, there's still one more step. You've got to contact the board. We'll know if you pass or not, but you've got to contact the board, show us the proof that the NCS gave you that you passed the exam, and at that point we will actually assign you a PE number. And then and only then are you able to use the designation PE after your name. It is, in West Virginia, a violation of West Virginia engineering law to hold oneself out as a professional engineer without being licensed. And as the investigator, there are certain cases where I get calls and someone says, hey, this guy or this gal is holding himself out as an engineer, and then I'll have to do some investigation and get to the bottom of it. All right, so you take the exam and you don't pass. Well, guess what? It's not the end of the world. Same thing for the FE, PE. It's not the end of the world. There are some states that have a 3 strikes and you're out rule. West Virginia is not one of those. But do be aware that you failed it the first time. Okay, well, study a little bit harder next time and pass it. I can't think off the top of my head what states there are as what we call the 3 strikes and you're out rule, but West Virginia is not. Now, there are some requirements in our law that says after 3 or 4 or 5 times, we can require you to come in and sit in front of the board for an interview to say, what is your educational plan of study? What are you doing to pass? But this is after 3 or 4 or 5 times. And believe me, we get that. We perform probably anywhere up to a dozen interviews a year on people who just are having trouble passing it. The interview process is actually, it's quite informal. The board will look at your past test scores and maybe give some suggestions on what you could not, what you could do better, or some things that maybe you shouldn't be doing. I've kind of already touched on what the FE exam is about. It's the testing centers in Charleston, again, in Morgantown, and it's administered by a company called Pearson View. The exam has changed. It's now a 6-hour exam. It used to be an 8-hour pencil and paper. It's now a 6-hour exam, but really, it's only 5 hours and 20 minutes. So you're not sitting there all day long. The actual exam taking time is you have 5 hours and 20 minutes. And there's the break out there. In those 5 hours and 20 minutes, you've got 110 multiple choice questions. It's a multiple choice exam. If you do the math on that, I think it's 2 to 3 minutes per question. And there'll be tons of people giving you strategies on what to do. I've even heard of some person taking in a timer and setting it for that 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it is. And if they have not answered the question by then, they went on to the next one. I wouldn't recommend that. What the best strategy really is to go through the tests, answer the ones that you know you can get, and then go back to the other ones and work on those. Because there'll be some you'll look at and you'll have it within 10 seconds. And there'll be others you'll look at and say, oh, I could probably figure this out. And there'll be others you'll look at and say, I don't even want to look at this yet. The good thing, though, about it is you don't get marked off for wrong answers. You don't get penalized for wrong answers. So when you've got 5 minutes left and you've got 5 blank questions, go back there and guess B or C or whatever you want to guess. That's the best way to do it. You will have a reference manual. It's called the FE Reference Handbook. That is on the computer. It's on your test. You will not take anything into that test except for an approved calculator. There's a list of approved calculators on the NCES website, and I will tell you that's the only thing you'll be allowed to take. When you get in there, they'll give you a wipe erase board with a wipe erase marker, and that will be your scratch pad. I had a chapstick, which I do now. I have chapstick in my pocket all the time. They made me take it out. Couldn't take it into the exam room. I was allowed my calculator, and that's it. This is what your screen will look like. Yeah, you'll have like a double screen. This is for the FE exam. And as you can see, on this side here is your multiple choice, A, B, C, or D. That's what you got. All right, this spells out the civil exam topics. You know, let me go back real quick. I didn't touch on this. These are the 7 disciplines that you can take the FE exam in: chemical, civil, computer, electrical, environmental, industrial, mechanical, and there may be some other ones out there. But these are the 7 standing ones. So let's skip ahead here to, this is what the civil exam looks like. And this is all on the NCS website. They will tell you not only will they give you this right here, but they'll give you like 4 to 6 questions of transportation engineering, or there are going to be 10 questions in statics and dynamics, or something like that. There's a breakout there for you. The exam is not designed to play gotcha. They're going to tell you what the exam topics are going to be. It's hard enough already. They don't want to play the gotcha game. All right, these are some FAQs. I think I've hit it home. When should you take it? You've got to take it your senior year. You've got to. The examinee guide, it's on their website. It just tells you about the test taking process, the rules, the calculator, the calculators you're allowed to choose from. Scratch work. What did I say what the scratch work was at the FE? Anybody? Whiteboard. That's right. You don't take anything in. They give you a whiteboard and you wipe erase. Practice exams available. I haven't hit on that. I think I might have a chart on it. There are practice exams available, and I suggest you take those practice exams. You can get them anywhere. I suggest the ones from NCES. They are very helpful. They will give you a feel for exactly how the exam is going to be. They're not going to have the same questions, I'll tell you.
Just 2 things I want to supplement what Aaron's saying. Number 1, next semester you all are slated to take Engineering 111, which is Engineering Computations. And in that class, one of the things that we focus on is the use of an NCES approved calculator. We use a Casio FX115. So we show you every single button and command and everything you need to know for that. That's point 1. Point 2 is that when you all become seniors, all the civil engineering faculty and now all the mechanical engineering faculty, electrical will do the same thing. We host FE review sessions. I actually just did one this week on structural analysis. Next week I did structural design. 2 weeks from that I did math. And each professor takes their own, personal topics and goes through and does a quick review session. So no charge. So just to see you all pass. So.
The courses offered through the university for the FE review class, probably better than the practice exams. Definitely take that. I didn't catch if he said you had to take it, but if you have a choice,
They're voluntary.
then it should be mandatory. If you're going to take the FE exam, it should be. You receive your results from the FE within 7 to 10 days because it's computerized. Used to take about 8 to 12 weeks, but now you get your results in 7 to 10 days. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I'm running out of time. But this is a chart I referred to earlier about who's going to pass the FE exam. The blue is the current students, your senior year. The red is after you've graduated. All right? It's clear that when you're in school, you've got a higher pass rate. This goes to the effect of how long after you've graduated, what the pass rate looks like. If you're still enrolled, you're a little over about 74% pass rate. Within 2 years, that drops to 50%. Within 3 to 5 years, that's down to 40%. The NCS actually has charts that go all the way out to 20 years. I was interested in seeing that. It's less than 5%. That's how tough it is if you don't take it early. All right, I got another video here for you.
If I could go back and talk to myself, I would definitely recommend to take the fundamentals of engineering test while I was still in school. All the information is fresh. You remember it, you know it, you're using it every day for all your classes.
Historically, if a candidate goes and pursues licensure earlier in their career, right after they get out of school, they do their FE exam, or even while they're in school, and 5 years down the line they do their professional engineering. If they pursue licensure earlier in their career, there's a much higher percentage of passing and people getting licensed. Even if you're going after a career path that doesn't require licensure, it's definitely a goal that you want to have, because if you decide 10 years down the line that you want to be licensed, it's that much harder, because now you got to relearn everything that you probably would have forgotten from in school. The key thing that if you talk to any professional engineer is, anybody will always say, hey, do it sooner rather than later, because the later you wait, the harder it's going to be, and you don't want to be having to go back year after year try and take the test, because it is difficult. Don't get me wrong, it's not something that it's easy, but that's what gives engineering and being a professional engineer, it's the distinction of being a professional engineer, that you do have to qualify for it, that you do have to pass a test that's set by your peers. So you're meeting a minimum standard that your peers have set for you, and that you're able to do that.
You get your results within 7 to 10 days, already discussed. And then there again, at the bottom line there, when you pass, check with your state board. You pass, it doesn't make you automatically an EI or an EIT. There's some choices here for preparing for it. You can go through ASCE. They've got some review courses. I suggest NCES, and I suggest the course here offered by the university. All right, I'm going to kind of speed through the PE exam, because for most of you in here, it's probably 7 years down the road. However, a lot of this information is available on the NCES site. It talks about the discipline-specific exam. They've got a whole bunch. I already mentioned chemical, nuclear. They've got architectural engineering. They've got obviously the civil, the mechanical, the electrical, the basic ones. They've got software engineering now. There's a whole bunch of them out there. Just know that there's a bunch of disciplines that you could take the PE exam in. It's again an open book. It is an open book test. It's an 8-hour pencil and paper. And an open book means that you can bring any reference you in, any reference that you want into the exam. They're going to give you a list of recommended references. Certainly get those, and then some other references that you feel comfortable with. The only rule is everything has to be bound. You can't have loose papers. There's all the disciplines. Look at this. I mean, petroleum, nuclear, environmental, control system, industrial, fire protection. Once you get past the FE, the basic part, and you open up your experiences, you have a lot more choices. The PE exam is broken into 2 sessions, a morning session, an afternoon session. They're both 4 hours long. And for the civil exam, you've got 40 questions in the AM, 40 questions in the PM. The breadth, they call it the breadth and the depth. For civil, the morning session is the same for everybody. And then in the afternoon, you can choose between these topics: construction, geotech, structural, transportation, and water resources, environmental. And this is just for civil. They have there's their environmental engineering PE exam, architectural exam specifics. Structural exam's a little bit different. I don't know if we have any structural people in here. It is actually a 2-day exam, 8 hours on Friday, 8 hours on Saturday. Some states require that. West Virginia, we do not, because we don't license by discipline. If you're an engineer, you're an engineer. While we don't license by discipline, our law does say that you will only practice in your area of technical competence. So if you've been structural all of your life and you're out there signing and sealing petroleum engineering plans, then the board's probably going to get in contact with you. Results are usually given within 8 to 10 weeks. You get your results via an email through NCES to say go log on, your results are available. If you don't pass, and this is decent here, if you don't pass, you receive a diagnostic sheet, and it's the same thing for the FE too. If you don't pass, they'll say, okay, you did this well, you did well in these topics, you didn't do so well in these topics. It does help you focus your studying for the next time. This is just a pretty much snapshot of the licensure practice. Here you are, getting ready to graduate. Well, I shouldn't say getting ready, it's got a couple years, but you're on the path. Then you got to pass the FE, get your experience, pass the PE, and once you do get your license, you're not done. You're required in about 90% of all jurisdictions to do what we call continuing education. In West Virginia, we call them PDHs, professional development hours. You're required to have 30 hours every 2 years in West Virginia of professional development hours. It's trainings, it's classes, it's seminars, and you have to be up to date in order to renew your license.
It was one of those moments in your life you'll probably never forget when you find out that you've passed, and it was just a wonderful feeling.
First thing I did when we got off the phone was I opened up my resume, and on the top of my resume where my name was, I added a comma after my last name, a big capital P, a period, a capital E, and a period.
I knew there would be career opportunities beyond just a job out of school, but to be able to advance and learn and grow within that field. Which is again why licensure appealed to me, because I wanted to know and to show that I was committed to that career, that I was willing to make the effort to continue to learn and advance within that field, and then be able to make even greater contributions in the future.
There's an immediate, oh wow, this guy knows what he's doing.
It's instant credibility.
And at the end of the day, that means, hey, I'm the one with the job security.
Get your license, it'll absolutely be worth it. You won't regret it.
What I usually jump into now is some specifics on what I do as the board investigator, but in the essence of time here, I'll just very, very quickly touch on it and then open up for any questions. This is what I call the 7-step process for an investigation. This is nationally acclaimed. NCS has a law enforcement committee. They vet this through all the jurisdictions, and most all jurisdictions follow this process. Just know that once you become licensed, you are bound by the laws and rules of that state or jurisdiction that you're practicing in, and all of that information, at least in West Virginia, is found on our website. It is what we call Chapter 30-13, West Virginia State Code. And we also have rules, legislative rules, that the board promulgates because of that state law. This is a history of the complaints since our enforcement program started back in 2003. It's been about 210 complaints. That average is close to 20 a year, not quite. And as you can see, we focus mostly on the unlicensed practice of engineering in the state. However, we do have some very important ones here, like providing misinformation to the board, practicing outside of your expertise, ethics complaints. You will have a code of ethics, what are called the rules of professional responsibility, that you would have to follow. But that's our complaint list since the start of our enforcement program. And this is a specific case. Our complaints that are resolved are on our website. Anyone can have access to this information. You can download the consent orders. Read about some of these engineers that are getting in trouble here in West Virginia. With that, I open up to any questions. I know it's probably about time to go. Yes, sir. Are there any costs associated with either of the exams? Yes, the question was, are there any costs associated with the exams? That's a good question. I should have highlighted that. The FE exam costs $225 to take, computer-based, $225. The PE exam is not quite as much, but it's, I believe it's 80, I don't know, but there are costs. And that's within each state, the cost is different. So you guys worry about the FE exam, $225. Within a year. Question. The question was, how many questions do you have to get right to pass? Both exams are on a scaled basis. They do this psychometrician type stuff that I know nothing about. But what happens is they make the exam so that about 70% of ABET graduated students will pass. So it will be scaled. You will never know how many questions you got right or wrong on the exam. They will take the results, they'll put it in a formula, and about 70% of the people will pass. Some say it's fair, some say it's not. That's the way it is. Question? The question was, do you have to be a professional engineer? Do you have to be a professional engineer to get a job in your field? The answer to that question is no, you do not have to be. That is not a requirement. However, it has been proven that if you are, your mobility increases, your chance for promotion increases. There are fields such as DuPont, Dow, chemical fields that they never get licensed. They have quite a career. So it is not a requirement. It just gives you that one extra thing in your hip pocket.
Any other questions? All right, what's that? Was there one more?
I don't think so.
A couple points. First off, let's give Mr. Armstrong a round of applause. Two things. Number one, did everybody get a packet? All right, that's it. All right, don't forget your quiz due next week, Friday at 11. That's all we got. Y'all have a great weekend. Stop supporting